I want to bring in Dr. Kingsley Makhubela into the conversation, our seasoned diplomat, former ambassador and expert in international relations. Dr. Makhubela, thanks for your time this morning and for being with us. You know, as I'm speaking to Juanita, we're playing what we call B-roll of that moment of President Ramaphosa and members of his cabinet in the Oval Office. That was meant to be a moment for us to make our own representations about things related to the concept of a white genocide and so on. When you see the replay of that meeting and that moment and what's happened now, I mean, how do you juxtapose both? It seems as if that outreach fell flat. Good morning, by the way, and welcome.
Good morning, Imani. No, quite honestly, this bill is likely to pass. If you look at the numbers, both in the House and the Senate, currently the House consists of about 435 members, and the Republicans are having 219, and I think the Democrats have 217. So it's likely to pass. This time around, Imani, last year, when this bill was first discussed during the Biden administration, 61 Democrats voted for the bill to go through, which has similarities with what we are seeing now. The only thing that we see now is that there have been added issues on this bill. For instance, the question of the relations with Taiwan played its role. The question of the tension that arose because of Rasul's expulsion, it plays into this bill. So this bill is likely to pass. It's also framed around national security concerns. So the Americans, once we start raising issues of national security, they close ranks. So you are likely to see a large number of Democrats voting with the Republicans in the House and in the Senate. The Senate is also controlled by the Republicans. I think the Republicans are having 53, the Democrats have 45 members, and there are 2 independent. So they have the majority to do that. There's a tension building coming during the midterm elections next year. And I think the Republicans would like to push for this bill to go through both houses, the Senate and Congress, and be sent to the president before the midterm election next year, because they are not sure if they will get the majority necessary to run with some of those bills.
Well, I mean, again, so going back to the initial, well, part of that question I initially posed to you, for the armchair expert, it would seem then that, you know, that high-level meeting that we had in the US didn't have any sway.
Well, I have always had a view that the meeting did not succeed. I saw some people in our media space saying that there was success. And my argument is that you can't define success in terms of accessing the White House. Success must be evaluated in terms of the content. And if you look at the tension that arose during that open meeting, quite clearly the meeting was not a success. We later got a report that President Trump agreed to attend the G20 meeting. But from what we are seeing now, I mean, last week we had a meeting of the G20 finance ministers. The US did not show up again. This is a prelude, in my own view, that the US will not attend to this. So therefore, I don't know what did we succeed to do. We tried to raise the question of AGOA during the ministers' meeting during that visit, and that was referred to the House. So they didn't want to discuss that from the White House side. They said this is a responsibility of the House. And of course, AGOA is due for renewal this September. So quite clearly, you can see this tension that is building up, that it's unlikely to abate soon.
From your experience, what are, in diplomacy, what are the implications of the ANC's direct appeal to US Democrats? Could this undermine formal state-to-state channels, or is it a necessary political move?
You know, you can't appeal to one divide in the political space in the US. You have to appeal to both the Republican and the Democrat. And I think often this is a mistake that South Africans tend to make, to think that the Democrats are center-left. No, the left has left us now. We no longer have the left around. The Democrats have shifted to a large extent to the right. Remember, some of these initiatives arose during the last term of Biden, who is seen as part of the center-right. So the appeal must be across the board. And the understanding that we are seeing is that people are still holding on to this thing of the left. the left, Iman, has left us. So I think we shouldn't rely to that. Around the world,
Yeah.
the shift to the far right is quite phenomenal. And we need to understand how to deal with the center right and the far right.
So just a quick one on this one. So if passed, right, it could see senior ANC and South African government leaders sanctioned under the Global Magnitsky Act. And when we think of a senior ANC member, that would be, of course, the president, as president of the party as well. So, you know, what you would say then they are, you know, at direct risk. And what kind of impact could we see as a result if, as you say, it's almost, you know, fait accompli that it would happen?
You know, Imani, sometimes in March, there was an article penned by a guy called Joshua Masabi from the Hudson Institution. This think tank influences the Republicans. Part of what is contained in that article was that selective sanction must be imposed on senior ANC leaders. And this includes freezing of their financial assets, preventing them from traveling to the US. They may also, you know, the US has a tendency of extraterritoriality. They may also sanction countries that are allowing them to travel there. So we are likely to see serious consequences for the movement of the leaders. Now, if you speak about senior leaders of the ANC, of course you're talking about the top 7 of the ANC. That would include the president. The president, meaning that the president will be prevented from visiting the United States. The only place he can visit is New York because of the United Nations and to attend matters related to the United Nations only. So that's where my suspicion is, but we are yet to see what do they mean by senior ANC leaders. You can't really think of anyone. And of course, now in this bill, Imani, they're including people who are involved in corruption. So they are going to use some of the material we are seeing within our domestic space to target certain leaders, particularly within the ANC.
So what moves should we be making? What moves should both the government and the party be making in this moment?
I think there should be really serious diplomatic moves to try to reach out to both houses, the Senate and the House, to try to influence them not to go ahead with this vote. I don't think we still have enough time to do that. The problem is that we don't have enough diplomatic representation in the United States. And of course, the question of the seniority of the person you use to go and lobby, it works. I don't know if we have good networks of lobbyists that could even go to some of these representative constituencies to influence their constituencies not to go ahead with this. I don't know if we have time to that or the infrastructure is still available for this. But there's a lot of work that needs to be done to try to prevent this, because once it becomes an act, it's going to become a monumental task to remove South Africa from there. Imani, it took us years to remove issues related to apartheid on the US laws. So this one is going to be a huge challenge once it gets into the laws.
Dr. Kingsley Makhubela, thank you for your time and your analysis this morning. We do appreciate it.